Alex Answer here for February 4th, 2019. Thank you for tuning in. The full episode of OTB TV for today will be over at Patreon for supporters. A very special thank you for contributing to things that I do here off the grid. Now, there's not a lot of support coming in, but there's more support on that side of things than what's coming back from the AdSense, as YouTube aims to bury the content creators that have dabbled in the truth. And I highly suspect that my whole channel, if you will, has been put into a certain category. With that comes certain challenges. Not only is the machine and the mainstream media putting us into a particular box, those that are affected by the left-right paradigm do the same things as well. Even when some of us try to get into a deeper spiritual truth, those lost in atheistic worldviews or orthodox, dogmatic, religious worldviews, they attempt to run their own interference. So I really see the next year as my last year with my mind full time, if you will, being focused on YouTube. I do question, if you will, if there are certain things that I've completely overlooked. I look within for my own updated version of my internal shift that has to happen towards my own personal soul's evolution within this matrix. I see that within my own life, and I'm trying to stay off the script of what I previously have, but just be with the moment. There's been a time and a place for me to do certain things and to speak about certain things. And there's also been interference when I've spoken about certain things, whether it be from the audience or a sense of judgment or from the algorithm itself and or the mainstream media. You know, we've reached a particular level of dumbing down of society where I could be put in the same box of Alex Jones. And when you fundamentally have such a 180 between myself and him on a deeper level, and only so many people actually being able to see that, but with the mainstream kind of putting us in the same box, I mentioned to you many times that YouTube is suggesting still a lot of disinformation. It's based on the algorithm. So if people like disinformation or clicking on a video where it promotes a psychosis, that your neighbors are TIing you, which is a extreme scary, right? Because there are some cases where there is neighbors that do crappy things to their neighbors, right? But like what a lot of people think is gang stalking, just to use that as an example, I'm here to tell you that YouTube has a way of promoting things and videos that pop up that lead to madness, that lead to mental illness. And as someone that's been a part of what I'll just call it like a research community, something other than the mainstream, speaking my own truth, something that's now kind of loosely marginalized as conspiracy theory. See, now it's not only about speaking in code, it's about a general awareness that there's been this lumping in. And just think about that. Think about thousands of years of contrarian thought now all being put through this McDonald's straw lens of conspiracy theory. And then people basically having no ability to differentiate between, an average person who's looking at history in a completely different way, and this is very dystopian, kind of like a view of the future, is that they're in game to compare everything that's contrarian in thought, in nature, that's going against the system to that man or people like that. And as I watch YouTube and the tech giants promote extreme thought, even within the search engine, and we can also see how certain things can be promoted for a number of years to then thus promote a clampdown to push things into the underground. So we'll start there. There's a number of different reasons, from personal to professional, that lead me to look at YouTube. And there's a lot of different sub-reasons. I've alluded to just a few and many in previous videos. Even how I've talked about how, in a way, they've encouraged a lot of these self-described woke individuals to play their part in the conspiracy. Instead of it being just a bunch of self-described conspiracy theorists pointing their friggin' finger at others, including immigrants, as being the conspiracy or the new world order, right? There's been a real lack of the finger pointing back or looking back in the mirror. at how the divide and conquer program is living itself out with full fury at this time. And in a way, they can mind screw the people to be or play out the conspiracy through taking the illusions of separation to anabolic steroid like levels. And see, as I've been discussing to you and explaining new terms to you like anti-themism, like I still see people that are using the argument of, no, we're so multicultural. We're not, we're not doing this, that, and the other. Look at the people that we have at the front of the lines. Yes, because they're engaging in anti-themism, a coalition of people from various backgrounds that will come together over the people that they're targeting or hate. But what sense does it make for random people in Portland or in Miami or in New York to come together of different racial backgrounds, other than maybe a few key racial backgrounds? You'll only see so many Persians or people of Middle Eastern heritage with the people that are promoting anti-themism. You'll also only see so many people of those backgrounds with the people on the left, unless those people of those heritages, right, are in with the particular political ideologies. Anti-themism. So you'll see people use their token minorities, their token Arabs, rarely a token Afghan. Remember, right? Millions have died in Iraq and Afghanistan. But even to this day, you'll see more of a focus on Palestine or just Iraq by itself without mentioning the name of Afghanistan. And why would our country, right, be in talks with the Taliban to begin with, after millions of civilians that are not associated with the Taliban or ISIS have been killed? You see, like basic common logic, people that are actually like intact, I got water boiling here, but people that can still feel would normally ask such questions. They would not view a guy like me as fringe. Future generations should make full note of every sentence that came out of my mouth in transcript. As a little elementary or middle school exercise for children of the future, middle school children of the future examining the words of Alex Ansary, right? Who else was saying things that were similar? Was David Icke saying things that were similar, or did David Icke say things that sounded more similar, more so in the year 1995 or 2000, maybe 2005? Remember, it was really popular for people to call out the wars when Bush was the president. Remember, under Obama, a lot of people that identified with the left kind of were able to go along with maybe a new ideology that he was going to deal with it. After all, he made some critical statements about the war in Iraq, right? When Obama was campaigning in 2006 and 2007. And lo and behold, so would Donald Trump be seen in a stage discussion with CNN showing his disdain for these wars. Have we seen some positive changes with regards to Trump and Obama? And as people attempt to cite Donald Trump with some sort of praise for some sort of potential pullout for years, even before Obama was the president, people that have had visions, if you will, people like Leon, you know, the man that's featured on the front of my YouTube channel at the top in the video that auto plays in Fourth Horse Rising. He talked about in his visions of things to come, certain signs, like them pulling the troops back from the Middle East because they would need those troops. But don't think that then, thus, there is some sort of acknowledgement to what they've done to Afghanistan and Iraq, not to separate those countries or to say Iraq by itself, but to recognize the destabilization that's taken place. Also look at Russia's interest in re-entering Afghanistan over oil, over pipelines. Look at Donald Trump saying that maybe Russia wasn't so wrong in what they've done in the intervention of 1979. And see, a lot of people would prefer to look at Afghanistan as something that has only been ruled by warlords and Taliban type creatures, when the greater reality is in 1967, it was a very different Afghanistan. And the Afghan nationals, many of them which are bilingual and have migrated from Afghanistan a long time ago, before the modern day events, they are the ones, not myself, they are the ones that should have told you the full story or made a documentary in multiple languages about how a nation would have women at one point in time walking around without a burqa, to then Western stabilization resulting in radical elements being the most powerful because they were the ones being supported behind the scenes by either Russian and or US forces and or other interests in Europe. Of course, we can't overlook China as well and their interest in Afghanistan. And so this is something that in my mind has been a thorn. That in your world, if someone was to look up, for example, a documentary about Afghanistan, what would they see? They would see a documentary about Afghanistan from the perspective of a soldier. And I'm looking at that from like, what a way to just like walk on the graves of millions of souls down this free flow that'll be for Patreon supporters, and I'll break it up into smaller clips. I wanted to bring up kind of a sense of hypocrisy with regards to the abortion debate on both sides, because you'll have one side that is promoting, quote, a woman's right to choose, and they're also identifying that with being life, like the real pro life, while the other self described pro lifers that are anti abortion, how are they so pro life if they cannot call out the millions that have been slaughtered? What could also be described as a modern day human sacrifice to might as well be a fallen god deity, not a true god, but those that have been called the fallen angels, rather the fallen ones. Some of us, by the way, could have fallen in as well, not to demonize all that have fallen. But I very much do identify with that of a soul that is something other than human, that for whatever reason is enslaved at present, just like you, whether you know it or not. Some, it's not